I found out my wife cheated while I was deployed, so I rewrote my will. I'm a 35-year-old Army officer, been in for almost 12 years. Married my wife, Tessa, F-33, back when I was stationed at Fort Campbell. She was the perfect Army spouse, supportive, organized, active in the spouse group chats. Or so I thought. 3 months into my overseas deployment, I received a message from an old friend of hers, someone I hadn't heard from in years. It read, "Hey, I don't want to get involved, but you should probably know that Tessa's been spending a lot of time with a guy named Brandon. Like, every night." I brushed it off. Maybe it was a misunderstanding, but then I started noticing changes. Tessa stopped FaceTiming at regular times. Her tone became distant, like talking to a coworker. She started missing my calls altogether. Then I got an automated alert from our joint bank account. $1,200 ATM withdrawal. From a casino 2 towns over. She doesn't gamble. I called. No answer. Texted. No reply. So I pulled the first string. Miss Sintis, I gave my CO a heads up and took a couple days of leave. I didn't tell Tessa I was coming. I landed back home on a Friday afternoon. Took a cab from the airport to our house. Her car was gone. But a different car was in the driveway. A red Challenger I'd never seen before. I unlocked the door and walked in on Brandon wearing my hoodie and holding my dog, feeding it snacks in the living room. No Tessa in sight. He said, "Oh, I thought you weren't back till next month." I said, "Yeah, surprise. I found out my wife cheated while I was deployed, so I rewrote my will." Part 2. After seeing Brandon in my house, I didn't cause a scene, didn't ask where Tessa was, didn't even ask him to leave. I just said, "You got 5 minutes to be out of here before I start calling people who carry weapons for a living." Brandon left. Fast. Tessa showed up an hour later, holding Starbucks like nothing happened. She stopped cold when she saw my boots by the door. "You're back early." I didn't say anything, just nodded. Let her ramble. She tried lying. Said Brandon was just a friend, that he came by to check on the dog. I said, "Cool, I'm going back to base in 2 days. We'll talk when I'm back." That night, I slept in the guest room. The next morning, I opened my laptop and started making moves. Removed Tessa as my primary beneficiary on all military life insurance. Called JAG and requested a private legal consult. Made sure my military housing allocation wouldn't go to her if I filed. Began drafting a will that would transfer everything I owned to my sister and my godson, not Tessa. Oh, and I took half the funds from our joint account and moved them into a separate USAA account in my name only. Legal, clean, and documented. Then I wrote an email titled, "Contingency changes in case I don't come home." I CC'd my lawyer, my CO, and my sister. Tessa wasn't even mentioned. She wanted to act like I didn't exist while I was deployed? Cool. Now, legally, she didn't either. I found out my wife cheated while I was deployed, so I rewrote my will. Part 3. When I returned overseas, Tessa thought things had cooled off. They hadn't. I just went quiet, cold, surgical, cruel. No emotional calls, no late-night texts, just brief, neutral check-ins about bills and the dog. She started to notice the shift. About a month before my deployment ended, I filed for divorce. My lawyer served her at her job during her lunch date with Brandon. Yes, I had someone watch and verify. I'm not guessing anymore. She blew up my phone, texts, missed calls, emails, even voicemails crying about how this isn't what I wanted, and we can fix this. I didn't respond, but I made sure my lawyer saved every message. Juan. When I landed back in the States for good, I didn't even go to our house. I had already arranged to stay in a furnished apartment off base. The house? In my name. Mancha. The furniture? Bought with my premarital savings. John, the utilities? Shut off the day I got back. She came home from work to a dark, empty house with a notice of eviction taped to the fridge. I left her exactly what she gave me while I was gone. Nothing. I found out my wife cheated while I was deployed, so I rewrote my will. Part 4. Tessa tried to drag it out in court. Suddenly, she wanted to negotiate. Said we'd been drifting apart before the deployment, and she felt alone. Claimed Brandon was a mistake. I didn't argue. I just let my attorney pull out everything. Photos of Brandon in my house, screenshots of her credit card charges while I was gone, hotel rooms, gifts, liquor store tabs, bank statements that showed her pulling money to spend while I was wiring money home. The judge asked if we had a prenup. We didn't, but I'd been smart. Most of my assets were tied to military benefits, protected accounts, or listed under a family trust I'd set up before marriage. She asked for half of the house. My lawyer handed the judge a document showing I bought the house before we got married, and that her name was never added to the deed. Request denied. She asked for spousal support. My lol. The judge asked about her employment. Turns out, she'd been making more than me for the last 2 years, especially with Brandon covering some of her expenses. Request denied. She walked out of court with no house, no car, it was leased in my name. I canceled it. No alimony, no claim to my pension, just her purse, some clothes, and Brandon, who, by the way, ghosted her after she got served. I found out my wife cheated while I was deployed, so I rewrote my will. Part 5. It's been about a year since the divorce was finalized. Tessa tried reaching out twice. Once through a long email, hoping to reconnect, and another time through a mutual friend. I didn't reply. I had nothing left to say. She's apparently living with her sister now, trying to rebuild. Me? I'm good. I got promoted. I adopted another dog. I used the money I saved from the divorce to finally buy that land back home I always wanted. Quiet place. Trees. Hills. Peace. More importantly, I rewrote everything in my life that had her name on it. Legal docs, emergency contacts, digital passwords, even my dog's microchip info, clean slate, no trace. Every now and then, I'll look at my old wedding photos, not out of sadness, but as a reminder of how easy it is to lose yourself when you trust the wrong person. She tried to ruin me while I was fighting for my country. Instead, I removed her from my life without ever raising my voice or breaking a single rule. Some battles are won in courtrooms, not combat. And this one was over before she even knew it started. For more stories like this, be sure to like and subscribe to receive notifications when a new post is published. Until next time, take care!